This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say ina uwezekana. By the way, do you know that the most important leadership responsibility for every leader, whether you are a politician or whether you are a church leader or whether you are just in the business or whether you're informal or informal, the most important leadership activity is thinking is the whole issue of raising successors, the whole issue of grooming is success a successor, because that is very important because of various reasons, because we are all not permanent. And every time when we think about raising and grooming successors, we are simply saying we are planning our exit. And one of the biggest challenges in this country and in this continent is that we think that leadership is there. We are there to last forever, to help us deal with the issues. What is grooming and why is it important? And how early, at what time should you start grooming your successor? To help us with these and many other questions, I have on stage and on studio my good friend and our good friend. This is Reverend Samuel Wanderi, a leadership expert and also on governance matters to help us. And he comes with loaded with wealth. And here he comes, Reverend Samuel Wanderi. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity.
It has been very long, very, very, very long. Eh?
Yes, quite some time we haven't met, and I'm grateful to see you on this platform.
Especially after Mambo ni Matatu. I don't know, you went, I don't know where you disappeared to.
No, we are still around.
Yeah,
We are still trying to catch up with the high inflation and tough economic times.
yeah,
So we are trying how to strategize again and see how we are going to cope.
yes.
Mm.
Good, welcome. It's always a pleasure to have you here on board. You bring to us lots of wealth on leadership and governance, and it's always a big pleasure to have you. Welcome. Today's discussion, we are talking about grooming successors, and just to begin, somebody said that the most important leadership lesson for every leader is grooming successors. That it is so important for us to be able to groom leaders, because the moment when we groom leaders, then we are simply saying and we are telling everybody out there that we are not permanent, we are replaced. And what's your comment about that, Reverend?
Thank you. Um, Miles Munloy once said that the success of a leader is known by his absence. When he is absent, that is when you can tell the success of a leader. Because the kind of people he has groomed will demonstrate whether he failed in his leadership or he succeeded. If his initiative fails, then that means he did not do a good job. So therefore, succession is key. We need to groom leaders who can take over and people who can continue with our good work. For example, you look at the work of our Lord Jesus Christ, how he groomed 12 disciples, and how those people were able to continue with the work of the mission even after he had left, gone back to heaven. But the work continued. And even today, the mission work is continuing because there was a good foundation that was laid and succession was well planned. Yeah.
Was by the name of Reverend I mean Samuel. I'm baptizing you Stanley, but you are Samuel. That even Jesus Christ was groomed. and it has been part of my observation as a leader that a lot of us fear succession. We do not want to plan a succession. We do not want to groom a successor because as Africans, the Africans in us actually tell us that we are actually planning our untimely demise, or maybe we are simply saying we have become ineffective. We want to lead to our deathbed. And I'm just wondering, the biggest problem, especially in planning succession, is more in family than it is on church. My observation, it is more of where we see a lot of failure in succession. It's more on family, where you see a father is getting old, is not grooming a successor who will take over his estate or take over his businesses. Because if you look at the stories that we hear, especially at the death of these prominent people, it can tell you that we have a problem with the succession. Is it African to groom a successor, or is it biblical?
Yes. From a biblical point of view, actually, it is expected that a leader requires to raise another leader, just as we have seen an example of Paul, how he mentored Timothy, and other people who, like you see, Moses also mentored Joshua. These are people that they were preparing people for the next generation. From the African tradition, we also had a mentorship program, because immediately after the circumcision, you'd find that the elders would sit with the young men. They would train them how to defend the community. They would show them how they are supposed to take care of their families. They would teach them values. So that was a way of succession. And
Okay.
you hear in most of the communities talking of there is a age gap.
Yes.
There is that transition, the
Yes.
mantle moving from this age and moving to the next one. So
Yes.
from biblical and from a traditional point of view,
Yeah.
succession was there and has always been there. But sometimes there is a tendency and a temptation of overstaying, because
Yeah.
you tend to stay long so that you
Yeah.
can cover up the messes, what you have
Okay.
messed in the process.
Yes.
Number two, there is also the insecurity, because
Yes.
you have not been a very effective leader. You feel like you are threatened, so you want to stay on so that you can try to protect yourself from any form of attack. Yeah. So it's important that as a leader, you need to consider to prepare the next generation, and also make sure that you raise other people who can continue with the great work that you're doing. And that way, your legacy will continue. Yes.
From an African perspective, you will see that we have actually the longest serving president in this country. I mean, in this continent. And just to take We seem to have lost him. Reverend, yeah, we need to find him there. I was simply saying about the longest serving president, and we are talking about Equatorial Guinea, which Obiang came into power in August 1979. And of course, through unorthodox means, that is through the back door. And I'm even up to date. At the moment, he is 80 years, and he has run the country for on a sixth on 7 year term, and he'll be running for the seventh term. Okay, then we have Paul Biya of Cameroon. It has lived for 40 years and unchallenged, and the 8-year-old man, runs the country through a very small circle of eight, and actually he appoints them and banishes them at whim. You can imagine, and openly talking about succession is a taboo. Why is it a problem in Africa? Why is it that when we talk about a transition in Africa, it becomes a problem? Because you can see it in Cameroon. If you talk about succession, is a taboo. Why is a taboo in Africa, Reverend?
Yes, as I had read it before, I talked
Yes,
about factors that make leaders cling to power. Number one is insecurity.
yes,
They don't feel secure and they
yes,
don't trust anybody else. They think that it's only them who can provide security for their family and for the others.
yes,
And if you look at some of those countries, you'll find that they get to power through military coup, and therefore they wait, and they know that they are not serving the will of the people. So what they do, they try now to keep themselves in power so that they can maintain their security, keep their security. The other one is that because of there is what we call the entitlement. Some of these leaders, they feel entitled. They feel like they are doing people a great favor when they are offering leadership. And that has been a very big challenge to many countries in Africa. The
yes,
sense of entitlement, and they
yes.
feel like they are entitled because they help them to fight for freedom, and now they overstay because of that sense of entitlement. The other one
Now,
is
before you go there,
yes,
you've talked about insecurity,
yes,
and you've talked about a sense of feeling entitled.
yes.
Um, my preposition would be the reason why we feel insecure, that somebody is out there to, because when you feel insecure, you're simply saying, I do not want somebody to come and outsmart me, because as I am the best dancer around this place, there should be no other dancer uh, before me. I mean, there will be no other dancer better than me. Nor have there been any other dancer before me, nor there should be another dancer before me. And so, while I remember you talking about messianic complex, my take would be the reason why a lot of us would want to cling to power and have very weak generals is because we do not understand leadership.
Mm,
Because should we understand leadership from Kibaki's perspective? Because Kibaki actually told us, and may he rest in peace, that leadership is an opportunity to serve others. It is not an opportunity to gratify to your personal, for your selfish and selfishness. And I think now that you are a pastor,
Hmm.
I don't know what it is that you are doing or you are not doing to ensure that this greed, is not taking root. Because look at what is happening, and we can go back to Kebaki's presidency, we can go back to Uhuru's presidency, we can even come to the current presidency. You've seen moments where the sitting, the current president, the current presidency actually chiding, actually criticizing, actually akiona gudule ya nyani ile ilikuwa pale awali, akisema oh, walikuwa they were like this, they were like this, and actually wasting a lot of time criticizing the previous administration. Could this, from where you stand, be impeding grooming of successors?
Yeah, and one is lack of understanding how the government works. I see a lot of ignorance because you don't start from a clean slate. Government is a continuation. So what the government, Uhuru government did, what Ruto should do is to continue. But it seems like they think they are recreating the country again, which is not possible. And eventually they have wasted time and they are still going back to the same things. The foundation remains. So when you understand how the country goes and how the country lands, then you don't need to waste a lot of time comparing what they did. What you just need to do is make your contribution and make
Yes,
the changes that are needed
yes,
and transform people's lives.
yes,
Uh, the other one is the challenge of when you don't have an excuse, when you are not able to meet the expectation,
yes,
so you try to blame the
yes,
previous administration.
yes.
But when you get into the position of leadership, you own the mistakes
Okay.
previous administration and you collect, you deal with them, not keep on lamenting, but
Yes,
you own and
yes,
change the situation.
yes,
So that's a challenge that we have. That even now, when it comes to succession,
yes,
uh, we have a problem because we, instead of thinking of how we can build a team that can take the country to the next level,
yes.
we are busy criticizing the other team. So that way, we may not be able to raise a responsible team.
There, Reverend, are you there? Reverend, hello? We seem to have lost him there. We are getting back to him so that we can know what is happening. But we are talking about when we are unable to prepare what we call leaders, we end up with a lot of leaders. One leader actually overstaying in power. Look at Dennis Sassou Geusu. At the moment, he is 78. 78. in the leader of Republic of Congo. And he has led this country for 38 years. For 38 years. Okay. Although he has done it with some interruptions, he began in 1979, then to 1992, then he had a 5-year break. He came back into office in 1997, and of course, this was after a bloody civil war. And then he comes back. He was elected in 2016, and this was after they passed a new constitution. Then he won the fourth mandate on March last year. Look at that. Or even come closer home. We are talking about this guy called Yoweri Museveni in Uganda. Who again, we do not know his age. Some people think he is 78. But since January 1986, he has led that country. And the last time when he was re-elected was in January 2021 for the sixth term. But this time the election was highly contested. And of course, we know that he wants to continue serving. Why is it that we are very slow in preparing leaders? Because that is the question we want to ask ourselves. And to help us today is none other but our leadership expert. This is Reverend Samuel Wanderi. He's back. Reverend, you have disappeared. You are back again.
Yeah, I'm back again.
I
Yes,
don't
I
know.
don't know.
Your network
We
is not grooming successors.
Yes, my network is bringing some issues.
Sorry for that. Yeah.
Yes, but I'm back.
So the question that we are asking, and I was asking you before you hung up, before you went off air, is that since preparing leaders is so important, since grooming leaders is so important, we are saying we should start grooming leaders immediately after assuming office, and not later, because it's such an important responsibility. What is your take?
Yeah,
Uh,
a somebody said that a wise CEO knows when
yes,
to get and when to exit. So, as a leader, you must know that you are there for a short time. And if you want to continue with your legacy, then you must prepare a team that can carry on the work that you are doing and impact the future generation. So, as a leader, it's like somebody who there is a saying that you should start planning for your retirement the first day of your work, because eventually you retire. And then you should, as a leader and a wise leader, you should start figuring out what would happen when I exit. And then you start now preparing and raising a generation of leaders who will take over the work that you're doing if you want to continue impacting many lives.
that prepare your successor as early as today. And then we keep on moving and looking at how Jesus Christ groomed his successors, the kind of men that he groomed. What kind of men did he groom? They were unschooled. Some of them were unschooled. But again, when we look
Yes.
at somebody like Dr. Luke, I mean, not Dr. Luke, if we go through the list, there were a lot of them were unschooled. They were fishermen. Their trade was
Mm.
fishermen. And I'm just thinking to myself, should I recruit or should we groom people who are basically unschooled? or what is the principle that Jesus Christ is saying? And you remember a while ago we had a contest on the social media, names withheld. Somebody saying pastors should not see the door of a Bible college because even Jesus' disciples and himself never saw a door of the same. So the fact that Jesus Christ recruited fishermen and schooled men, of course, we see that in Acts where people are saying tunasikia wakiongea lugha na hii wajamaa wajaenda shule. How comes they know this language? So basically, who should we groom?
When it comes to succession, the
Yes,
most important, for me, I believe the most important thing, there are three things that are key. One is the character. If you study the epistles, you'll notice whenever Paul speaks about leadership, he
yes.
gives a lot of focus to the character.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, he gives a
Yes,
lot of focus on relationship, or we call connection,
okay.
how they relate. People who can be able to relate, people who can socially, they can connect. That's what we call social intelligence.
Yes,
And then competence comes number three,
yes,
because you can build the competence of a person
yes,
and you can take them to school. They can learn. A skill can be learned, but a character takes time to develop. So the reason why there is overemphasis, especially in spiritual leadership, on character and relationship, it is because it is difficult to build those two. But building competence, it is easier because that's a skill that you can acquire and you can take a very short time to build on the areas where you have a gap. So when I look at Jesus Christ, you'll see there is a mixture. And also, when you understand the biblical culture, you'll notice that the people that Jesus Christ called to the ministry, you cannot say they were literally unschooled because they went through the formal training, the Jewish training, and you know how they used to train and disciple their children from young. Maybe we are talking of formal education. In other, they had understanding. They could understand the scripture. They would learn more about how the culture, the saving. Look at even the Jewish culture today.
yes,
The principles of saving, investment, and how they work together. That is also a school. But maybe we talk of they did not have formal universities like we have today. But you see, the training that Jesus Christ took his disciples, it was a very thorough and a practical school. 3 years learning practical skills is not easy. It is a well refined education. Jesus took time with them
yeah,
before he commissioned them to go out there.
okay,
So for me,
yeah,
when you're looking for succession, I
yes,
consider character,
okay,
relationship,
okay, which is connection.
connection, and then
Yeah.
competence comes number three.
Now,
Because you can build
why you arranging them that way? Why character? Is it deliberate that character comes first, connection goes next, competence trails behind?
yes, because if you get it long, character is what
Yes,
somebody say that
yes,
competence gives you, takes you up there.
yeah,
It helps you climb the ladder, but
okay,
character keeps you on top of the game.
okay,
So if you don't have, you may have competence and you can climb the ladder, but because you lack character, you lack
yes,
the foundation.
yes,
So what happens is that you'll climb, but you cannot sustain because you lack the foundation. So what happens is like I found a house without proper foundation. That
Yes.
house, even if you put 10-story building, it will
Yes.
eventually crumble down because it lacks a foundation.
Uh-huh.
Character is the foundation of any leader, any leadership, and any organization. Character
Yes.
comes number one.
Okay.
Yes.
And when we go to the polls, Reverend, is character on top of our agenda? Is because if you go by the polls and you are not a foreigner in this country, um, I need to pull down something in the dailies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a headline that went something like, "Why do Kenyans vote clowns?"
Mm.
There's something that went something like that. I just want to pull it for you so that you and the viewers would see it. I hope I'll be able to get it there in a second. Let me get it here. So that you're able to see what we are talking about. I don't know whether I will be able to get this where they talk about just a second. Let me see whether I will get it. Unfortunately, sorry, I'm not able, Reverend, to put it there. Sorry for
Mm-hmm.
that. But there is that headline. Actually, it says, "Why do Kenyans vote for crowns?"
Mm.
So, is it? And it's the question more to myself than rather to you. I do not know why we ignore character. Yet 1 year down the line, we cry fool. When our leader is elected, we go jumping and celebrating on the streets, saying mtu wetu ameingia, things will be all right. We chide the losers. We tell them mutaona hivyo, nyinyi tuliwashinda. You remember even some statement ya kwamba sisi tunakula nyama. I don't know wale wengine what they were eating. And then 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, the euphoria is dead. Everybody is frustrated. And you hear, if should we go to the polls, we cannot even elect the sitting. We would actually vote in the loser of the election. Then 5 years down we have another opportunity to make an intelligent decision, and again charisma and competence, what you're calling competence, takes the right. And I'm thinking that partly our mistake is that maybe our pastors, you and me, are not doing a noble job, or maybe the enemy is also working overdrive, and like Second Corinthians 4:4 says, the enemy has blinded the eyes of Kenyans and Africans, that they do not see. In my interpretation would be, they do not see the inner beauty. They don't see the inside of a leader. They see the competence bit. What's your take, Ref?
Uh, yeah, it is true. When you're dealing with masses, you'll find good leaders are highly punished, and then we reward the incompetent.
Yes.
This is simply because our elections are not really based on values. They are based on emotions. We don't vote leaders, we vote parties. And then when you have that euphoria, we end up getting the wrong people in place, and then after that, we start complaining. So this is one of the greatest challenge, and I think there is need for voter education, what we call civic education, because not even many people understand the impact of what they are doing during the voting. So many people, they wake up to vote to punish a leader or to reject the other one. So it is like a football match,
Yes.
and they there is no clear goal where they are going, and they just finish and then they continue glubbering and they continue with their life.
Yes.
And I think the one of the greatest challenges that the politics of a country, and especially in Africa, is so expensive, and it is kind of people buy the position, um, and then they also join leadership not to serve but to gain wealth. It's only in Africa where you find the richest people are politicians, not
Yeah.
business.
Yes.
In other developed world, is that you'll notice that the richest people are the people in business, not the
Yes.
politicians.
Not the
Uh, the,
politician.
the public space is a place of service.
Yes.
But in Africa, you'll notice that the place to make money is in the government.
Yeah.
And that is the reason why it is highly, it's commercialized.
Okay.
So that really creates a lot of confusion, because people push so that they get into the government to do business with the
Yes.
government.
Yes.
That is the easiest way to become rich in Africa.
Yes.
Hmm.
And what would be so so that you are sure that you are passing the baton, because what we are talking about here is passing the baton. We have agreed if so that we pass the baton, then we need to start early. And then I
Mhm.
think we've also agreed in principle that we should ensure that we select the right kind of leaders, and these kind of leaders should be the kind of leaders that have the three tests, that they have the what we are calling you've called it the three C's. There is the character, there is the connection, there is the competence. But while at it, I'm just wondering the whole question of chemistry. Should you pick somebody who is, because for me chemistry simply means somebody who is quick to pick your the previous decision and run with it.
For me, I don't think chemistry, when we talk of chemistry, I don't think is a factor to consider.
Yes.
But I believe is we need to look at the potential of a person. When you are grooming a leader, you see beyond the physical appearance. You see beyond the current situation today, and you
Yes.
see potential of this person in the next few years. I
Yes.
think, for example, is if you look at how Moy did his politics, he
Yes.
identified the fourth president,
Yes.
the former president. Uh,
Yes.
People never knew about him, but he
Yes.
could see the potential in him.
Yes.
And among the leaders that we write history, is that
Yes.
Uhuru was a leader. He had his own strength, and
Yeah.
so you'll notice that the successor, the one who molded him, he could see beyond his physical appearance. Actually, when he was presented the first time, we were wondering, hey, will this really guy make it? But see how what he ended up becoming.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some of these leaders that we see even in the political space, they were groomed. Some were taken from high school, but they have
Yeah,
ended up becoming very great leaders.
true, true, true.
So, so what I when I look at that, I see uh, when you are grooming, you go beyond just
Okay,
chemistry. You see
okay,
the potential, you see the
okay.
future,
Yes,
you see what they can be,
yes,
not just what they are able to do today. Because
yeah,
capacity capacity can be built. You can build the
yes,
capacity. Yes.
yes. I agree. And even more important, Reverend, I also think grooming is a two-way, it goes two-way. It
Yeah.
is the person who actually is being, goes even to the person who is being groomed for a
Mhm.
leadership. Because
Yeah.
again, if the incumbent is preparing you, and then the sitting leader, I mean the one who needs to be prepared is not really ready, is not taking in the lessons for grooming, then succession then becomes a big failure. And I think part of why, and that's a comment that I would want you to pick and comment, but I also believe part of why maybe succession also fails because of the person who is being groomed. Because the person being groomed feels like I need to have this today. Why am I being groomed? Why do I need to be groomed? I know what I need to be done. You know, you are impatient to inherit your father, like the prodigal son who was actually impatient to inherit his father. And so I remember you were compiling a list previously, teaching us on why grooming becomes a challenge. And we talked about insecurity and maturity. But I also feel like it's also a problem where the person to be groomed is so impatient, is also immature, is also insecure, and more so of impatience to inherit the person who is grooming him.
Yes. Sometimes there are people who want to learn faster than they are required. You know, there is time for everything.
True.
And when it is a season, you can't push the season to move to the next season before the first one is over. And one of the greatest mistakes that many leaders make is, especially those who are being groomed, is when they are so quick to take over before they are mature and they are well developed. If you go and pick a fruit that is not mature, even if it is ripe, it will still be very bitter because it did not complete the process. The same way, when you put a leader who is not mature, who is not fully developed, will bring some challenges, and you will see those gaps immediately. You will see those gaps. Things are just learning helter skelter because the person is not fully developed.
Yes.
There is that capacity.
Yes.
Uh, but I believe as a leader, you should wait until you are ready.
Okay.
You may not be 100%,
Yeah.
but it's good to take time and become fully developed
Yes.
because those deficiencies, you'll see them when they get into the leadership.
Yeah.
I have seen organizations where a leader steps in and things that were moving, they all stand still because of
Yeah.
the lack of capacity of the person who is now who is coming to the office.
Yes.
And leaders have really messed up because
Yes,
they were not properly developed and they didn't have the capacity to handle that. You know,
definitely.
leadership is a place where you are exposed. Your weaknesses are exposed.
Yeah,
People know
yeah,
you. Your emotions will be tested.
yeah,
Everything. So you cannot act in leadership. Your real you will come out.
yeah,
And especially if you are a deputy or an
yeah,
assistant, it is very
yes.
easy to hide. But when you
Mm-hmm.
become now person in charge, you can't
Yes,
hide
yeah,
because you face real issues.
yes.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting there, Reverend Samuel Wanderi, telling us that in leadership you cannot fake it, so that you can make it your real you. Leadership gives you opportunities to come out as the way you are. Quite heavy stuff there coming from this guy. I'm telling you, his name is Reverend Samuel Wanderi, a leadership expert, teaching us a wonderful thing there. He tells us the reason why succession, grooming becomes a tall order is because of insecurity, because of immature, because we want to have messianic complex, we want to stay there forever. And he recommends that leadership, grooming succession should start the very first day when you step into office, and then that you need to hire, or you need to recruit people who meet the three, what we call the 3C criteria. For him, it's a character. You need to look for connections. You need to look for what we call competence in that order. Very, very important. And then he said Jesus Christ actually groomed. He took the people into a development class. 3 years they were in development class, walikuwa wanasomeshwa. And I agree with him that that is very true. But while at it, um, can that really guarantee smooth transition? Can all that guarantee smooth transition?
Um,
If
Not
you do
really.
the checklist, are the leaders 3C criteria? Tick. Did I start grooming them early? Tick. Are these leaders? Have I actually oriented them on what they need to do? Tick. Does that guarantee smooth transition, or is there
Yes.
more that needs to be done?
When you plan it very well,
Yes.
you'll notice that we call it seamless. It will be seamless. It is driving, self-drive, because you have built the capacity. And you'll notice that sometimes a leader becomes somehow irrelevant
Okay.
because everything is learning as usual.
Okay.
The most effective organization, you'll notice that leaders, they don't keep learning up and down everywhere.
Okay.
Sometimes even they are away out of the organization for a week or two, but you'll
Okay.
never tell they are not there because
Things are
there are
running.
systems in place.
Yes.
So when there is a proper grooming, you'll notice that things will transit. There will be what we call coexistence. There will be continuity of
Yes.
what is been happening, and there will be no much change
Yes.
because the new team is used to the way they do things.
Yes.
That's why many organizations today, they are preferring homegrown
Yeah. Okay.
people from within the organization who understand the culture
Yes.
and who understand the values, and that they are
Okay.
able now to continue with the
Yes.
work internally.
Yes.
Unless maybe they are looking for a turnaround, a person who will turn around the organization.
Yes.
But many of these turnarounds, they end up failing terribly because people from outside, they don't understand the how the organization how have been operating. They don't
Yes.
have what all the institutional memory, so they
Yes.
lack a lot of things. So before they learn,
Yes.
they have really messed up a lot of areas. So
Yes.
with good planning, succession is smooth.
Okay. Succession is smooth.
Mm.
What are your parting words?
Yeah, my parting words is that as a leader, always have a team. Don't work alone. Work with a team. Prepare your people uh, to take over what you're doing. There is a writer who writes a book, and he says that make yourself irrelevant by preparing a capable team that can take over when you are not there.
Hey.
Uh, Backstage, so that you can be able to see them doing while you are still in office, but you're not active, but they are able to continue with the work as you supervise them and help them. Many other times, many leaders think that by being at the top and the being at the in front is what makes them relevant. But the moment you do it right, you have no problem, no challenge taking a back seat and allow other people to continue with the good work. And when you are seated at your home comfortably, you'll be celebrating the good work and the legacy that you left in that organization.
Well, a powerful, powerful way of ending it there. That to make yourself irrelevant. Ah, and you just take a back seat and go and take coffee while the systems are running. And for Reverend Wanderi there, he says that is a mark of a successful leader. Actually, I'm shocked that he said if the organization that you're leading falls into pieces with your demise, it just qualifies you as a bad leader. So senior pastor, siuende leave mwezi mmoja, alafu tuone kama itakufa. We, he. We CEO, Reverend anakuambia go for leave 1 month. Angalia
Yes,
kama ikienda msituni,
yes.
you've
Just
not
know
prepared.
you're in
Just
trouble.
imeharibika. I don't know whether he's reading the same script with our this guy by the name of Felix Kosgei,
Mm-hmm.
the guy who inherited Dr. Kenywa,
Mm.
uh, the CS to the cabinet, the secretary to the cabinet,
Yes.
and he has told everybody go
Mm.
home, and let the office learn. I'm still thinking about it. In fact,
Yeah.
the Reverend is actually talking to the mothers. Go chukua bwana yako endeni holiday one week. Leave your son or your daughter. See whether they are going to run the home. And don't
Mm.
call. See whether they are going to run the home well. In other words, send them for practicals. Even Jesus sent them, the disciples, for practicals. And yeah. This grooming story is very, very
Mm.
important. Thank you, Reverend Samuel Wanderi, for coming. I'll give you the microphone again to tell us where we can find you, and maybe you can also share your number with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Reverend John Mark. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm grateful. I am currently serving as senior pastor here at Gong Hills, and you can find me there. My number is 0724583251. 0724583251. You can WhatsApp, or you can just do a text, or you can call me using that line. I'm grateful. Thank you. As we continue learning more on leadership, Leadership is life, is part of us, and we learn every day. Thank you.
Thank you very much on behalf of the many. I saw there is somebody called Dr. Yuri Karanja. I don't know whether you know him. He came on air. He was following us. He was really saying more grace. And then there's a difficult word. There's a big word there, which you
Mhm.
have used. Thank you very much, Doctor. Pastor, thank you very much. But anyway, we are so grateful, Reverend, for the wisdom that you always bring to us every day. I mean, every week when we are around, and we just want to speak blessings. And thank you, dear viewers, for watching us. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say, inawezekana. If this is your first time being here, we encourage you to go to our YouTube channel, that is Marketplace Media, and please hit subscriber. Please, are you thinking of recruiting? Don't recruit if you're not ready to groom. Commandment number 11: thou shalt not recruit if you are not ready to groom, because you are not permanent. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say, inawezekana. Until next week, such a time as this, thank you very much for keeping us company. Those who are 56, 57 minutes of heavy stuff from none other one but Reverend Samuel Wanderi. And you can look for him. He has shared his number. God bless you.